Your name is Mikhail Sokolov. You are 20 years old, and tonight, you are sitting inside a wooden boat crossing the Volga River. Nobody is talking. Around you, other Soviet soldiers sit shoulder to shoulder, holding rifles between their knees. Some are older than you, some look younger. The river is black beneath you, but the sky ahead is orange. Stalingrad is burning. You can hear explosions before you reach the shore. Then comes another sound. Aircraft. A soldier beside you looks upward. Everyone understands at once. The boats spread apart. Your officer starts shouting. Then, the first explosions strike the water. Columns of water rise around you. Men duck instinctively, although there is nowhere to hide. You grip the wooden side of the boat and stare at the burning city getting closer. For months, the German army has advanced across southern Soviet territory. Now it has reached the Volga, and somewhere inside those ruins, Soviet soldiers are trying to stop it. Tonight, you are joining them. You finally reach the riverbank. Move! You jump into shallow water. Your boots sink into mud. Men scramble past broken boats, wooden crates, wounded soldiers, and exhausted stretcher bearers moving in the opposite direction. You climb the steep bank. Then you see Stalingrad properly for the first time. You expected a city. Instead, you see ruins. Walls without roofs. Buildings without walls, telephone poles leaning over shattered streets, burned vehicles, broken glass, smoke, fire, dust. A few weeks earlier, tens of thousands of civilians still lived here. Then, German aircraft came. Now, entire neighborhoods have been torn apart. And strangely, those ruins are about to become one of your greatest advantages, because destroying Stalingrad has created thousands of places to hide. You are assigned to a small infantry group defending part of a ruined residential district. Your squad leader is Sergeant Viktor Antonov, 31 years old, broad shoulders, quiet voice. He has already been fighting here long enough to understand something you do not. You ask him where the front line is. Viktor looks through a broken window. He points toward another damaged building across the street. There. You stare at it. It is perhaps 30 meters away. That is when you begin to understand Stalingrad. There is no normal front line here. The Germans can control one building. You control the next. Sometimes they occupy the floor above you while Soviet soldiers remain downstairs. A kitchen can become a firing position. A bedroom can become a medical station. A staircase can become a battlefield. Every wall matters. Every doorway matters. Every meter matters. The next morning, you learn how quickly those meters can kill. You are crouching behind a collapsed brick wall with another young soldier named Alexei Morozov. Alexei is 19. He talks constantly about his mother, about food, about the girl he wants to marry when the war ends. Then Viktor raises one hand. Everyone becomes silent. Movement across the street. German soldiers. They move between the ruins. Your squad waits. Closer, closer. Viktor lowers his hand. The street erupts. Rifles fire from broken windows. A machine gun opens up farther down the building. The Germans disappear behind rubble and return fire. Bullets strike bricks around you. Fragments hit your coat. You press yourself against the wall. Alexei is shouting something, but you cannot hear him. Then Viktor grabs your shoulder. Move! You follow him through a hole smashed between two apartments, across a hallway, down a staircase, through a courtyard. You realize the building itself has become a maze, and Viktor knows every part of it. That becomes your new life. You stop measuring time in days. You measure it in attacks. Morning attack. Artillery. German infantry. Silence. Another attack. Night. Then it begins again. Sleep comes wherever you can find it. A cellar. A stairwell. Against a wall. Sometimes you wake because of an explosion. Sometimes because someone is shaking you. Sometimes because rats are moving near your boots. Food becomes precious. Bread arrives irregularly across the Volga. Water is difficult to find. A dented metal cup becomes something men pass carefully from hand to hand. Nobody wastes anything. But there is one thing Stalingrad never seems to lack: rubble. By late September, the fighting becomes even worse. The Germans push deeper into the city. Soviet territory shrinks. Behind you is the Volga. Ahead of you is the German 6th Army. There are moments when the distance separating the two sides becomes almost absurd. You hear German voices through walls. You hear boots moving in neighboring rooms. Once, while crouching in a ruined apartment, you hear someone coughing on the other side of a damaged brick partition. Alexei looks at you. You look at Victor. Nobody moves. The enemy is perhaps 2 meters away. That is Stalingrad, not armies fighting across open fields. Men hunting one another through factories, houses, cellars, trenches, and broken rooms. The Germans call it a rat war. To you, it is simply survival. Then, your unit is moved north toward the industrial district. The factories are enormous, or they were. Now, steel beams hang over smashed workshops. Machinery sits buried beneath bricks. Rail tracks disappear under rubble. Smoke covers everything. The fighting here is relentless. The Germans attack. You push them back. They return. A workshop changes hands, then a warehouse, then half a building. Sometimes nobody even knows exactly who controls what. One afternoon, your squad is ordered to hold a damaged factory workshop. There are 11 of you. By evening, there are 7. Alexei sits beside you behind an overturned metal workbench. For once, he is not talking. You ask him what is wrong. He reaches into his coat and removes a small folded photograph. His family, his mother, 2 sisters, a younger brother. He shows it to you for only a few seconds before putting it away. "I forgot my brother's voice," he says. You do not know what to say. So, you say nothing. The next attack begins before sunset. Artillery first, then infantry. Dust fills the workshop. You can barely see across the room. Victor shouts instructions. You fire toward movement between broken machines. Someone falls. Someone screams for ammunition. Then German soldiers enter through another side of the workshop. Everything becomes confusion. You retreat behind a collapsed interior wall. Alexei is no longer beside you. You call his name. Nothing. You try to move back. Victor stops you. "We cannot." You understand what he means. The Germans now control that part of the building. You wait until darkness. Then you return. You find Alexei near the workbench. He is dead. The photograph is still inside his coat. You take it. Not because he asked you to. He never did. You simply cannot leave it there. October arrives. The temperature falls. The German army now controls most of Stalingrad. From some positions, Soviet defenders are compressed into narrow strips of land beside the Volga. You hear rumors constantly. The city will fall. Reinforcements are coming. The Germans are exhausted. The Germans are preparing one final attack. Nobody knows what is true. You only know that tomorrow morning you will still be here. Victor teaches you small things that keep you alive. Never stand in a doorway. Never silhouette yourself against a window. Never assume a quiet building is empty. Never cross open ground when rubble gives you another route. And never become comfortable. Comfort makes you careless. Weeks pass. Your uniform becomes filthy. Your boots are permanently coated in mud and dust. Your face looks thinner. Nobody needs to tell you that you have changed. You can feel it. Then winter begins to arrive. At first, the cold feels almost clean compared with the dust. Then it becomes another enemy. Water freezes. Metal becomes painful to touch. You sleep wearing everything you own. Snow falls over destroyed buildings. The ruins turn white. And then, on November 19th, you wake to something different. Artillery. But not German artillery. Soviet guns. Hundreds of them. The sound rolls across the horizon. You look at Victor. For the first time in weeks, he smiles. Something is happening beyond Stalingrad. Something enormous. You do not understand the full plan yet. You are not supposed to. While German forces have concentrated on crushing the Soviet defenders inside the city, the Red Army has secretly gathered huge forces north and south of Stalingrad. Their target is not the strongest German positions inside the ruins. Their target is the weaker Axis forces guarding the flanks. The operation has a name, Uranus. Soviet armies attack from north and south. Tanks break through. Infantry follows. The two attacking forces race toward each other behind the German 6th Army. 3 days later, they meet. The trap closes. The Germans inside and around Stalingrad are surrounded. For months, you have felt trapped against the Volga. Now the army attacking you is trapped too. But the battle does not suddenly end. Inside Stalingrad, German soldiers continue fighting. Your squad continues clearing ruined positions, room by room, building by building. Only now something has changed. You can feel it. German artillery becomes less consistent. Supplies become harder for them to replace. Prisoners look exhausted. The Luftwaffe attempts to supply the encircled army from the air, but it cannot provide everything hundreds of thousands of trapped men need. December arrives. The cold becomes brutal. You are issued additional winter clothing when supplies allow. Your breath hangs in front of you. Snow collects inside buildings that no longer have roofs. Victor develops a cough. He insists it is nothing. You know he is lying. One night, the two of you sit beside a tiny improvised stove inside a basement. You remove Alexei's photograph. You have carried it for weeks. Victor looks at it. You know where they live? You nod. The address is written on the back. If you survive, Victor says, send it. You look at him. If? He almost laughs. This is Stalingrad, January 1943. The German pocket is collapsing. The Red Army closes in. You advance through places that once seemed impossible to retake. Ruined streets, factory buildings, basements, railway positions. German soldiers emerge in small groups. Some still fight, others surrender. Many look barely recognizable as soldiers. Their uniforms hang from thin bodies. Faces are hollow. Some wrap blankets around themselves. You expected victory to feel different, louder, cleaner. Instead, it looks like thousands of exhausted men standing among the ruins of a dead city. On January 31st, German commander Friedrich Paulus surrenders in the southern part of the pocket, but fighting continues elsewhere. Then comes February 2nd. You are standing outside a shattered building. Snow covers the rubble. For several seconds, you notice something strange. No shooting. You wait. Still nothing. Other soldiers begin emerging from cover. Nobody celebrates at first. Perhaps nobody trusts the silence. You have lived with explosions for so long that their absence feels unnatural. Then the news moves through the unit. The remaining German forces have surrendered. It is over. The Battle of Stalingrad is over. You look around. There is almost no city left to celebrate in. Factories are wrecked. Apartment blocks are hollow shells. Streets have disappeared beneath rubble. Thousands upon thousands of people are gone. Victor stands beside you. His beard is covered with frost. He says nothing. Neither do you. Months ago, you crossed the Volga in darkness while Stalingrad burned ahead of you. You were 20 years old. You thought courage meant not being afraid. Now you know better. You were afraid almost every day. Courage was crossing the street anyway. Entering the building anyway. Standing your ground anyway. Remembering your friends anyway. You reach inside your coat. Alexei's photograph is still there. Bent, dirty, but intact. The war is not over. Not even close. The Red Army will still have to fight westward for more than 2 years before reaching Berlin. You do not know that yet. You only know that somewhere far away, a family is waiting for a 19-year-old boy who will never return. And if you survive what comes next, you have one promise to keep. You will send them his photograph. Behind you lies the frozen Volga. Ahead of you lies the road west. And for the first time since you arrived in Stalingrad, you are walking away from the river instead of toward it. If you want to experience another moment in history through the eyes of someone who lived through it, subscribe and tell me which historical event you want to enter next.